Good morning. My name is Ben Womberg. This is, until we come up with a better title, the Daily Berg. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there's freedom. And one of the things that you can expect with freedom is peace. Now, peace in the Old and New Testament, they are maybe a little bit different than what we talk about as peace in our everyday life. So peace in the Bible is not so much the absence of conflict. It doesn't mean that, you get your Chinese food order and it's more than a little spicy. You are suddenly not at peace while your mouth is burning. So your peace has been diminished because of your circumstances. And peace in the scriptures doesn't really have much to do with circumstances. I mean, it does on the one hand, in the sense that the physical is acknowledged and it's important. But it doesn't in the sense that peace, biblically, when they say peace in the Old Testament, shalom, it refers to peace that rests as a covering, like over a whole household. And it's not just peace as in no one's coming to attack you right now. It's peace in your finances and in your health and your family's welfare. Peace in your relationships and your ability to communicate. It's holistic, if you will. And in the New Testament, peace isn't even so much that as it is the presence of a person in Jesus. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there's freedom. If we take that one thing to be true, then we have some serious discussion ahead of us. When you met Jesus, if you have, and for those of you who aren't believers watching, no big deal. You're good, dude. Just do your thing. So in the Judeo-Christian worldview, when you met Jesus, what is proof of conversion is not that you read the Bible, it's not that you go to church, it's not that you do a bunch of Christianese type things. You got the ichthus on the back of your car while you flip people off in traffic, etc., etc. What is proof of conversion is the presence of Holy Spirit. So that in and of itself should turn dispensationalism and some other things on its head in terms of schools of thought. Because you can't actually convert without Holy Spirit. Which means if Holy Spirit's not around, you're not a Christian. So what I'm not saying there is if you don't have proof of the Spirit on your life, you must not be a believer. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm saying is the expectation needs to change. So it's like if Holy Spirit being on your life is proof of conversion, as in your conversion denotes the presence of the Holy Spirit in a true sense. If the conversion itself is honest, then that is a guarantee. If that's true, Holy Spirit brings freedom. So it doesn't matter what's going on life-wise. It doesn't matter what your context or circumstances are. It doesn't matter what you've done, what's been done to you. You have an expectation, a more than reasonable expectation, of freedom and peace manifesting in your life. We'll take it a step further. Whenever Jesus uses a word saved or healed, it is almost always the same word. It's the Greek word sozo, which is their word for salvation. But it's not a limited term. It doesn't only mean we converted, now we have fire insurance. It means that, sort of like the word shalom, it's holistic covering. It's like you are saved, you are whole, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, fiscally. It's all of the above. And I know many of you heard the word fiscally and immediately went, oh, it's the prosperity gospel. That crazy Swede. He just doesn't know what he's doing, dirty heretic. I understand. Rabble, peas and carrots, I know. I got you. I would suggest to you that the issue is any place in your life that lacks hope is most likely under the influence of a lie. So if you've made an excuse for things to be bad, you've kind of ended up a little bit like Job. Now, Job is a story that everyone likes to talk about in terms of the anti-healing movement, in terms of making God a villain. There's not actually ammunition for either of those conclusions in the story of Job. It's just stuff taken out of context. So let's do a 5-second Job thing, okay? First off, the enemy had authority over the planet because he'd gotten the keys from Adam and Eve during that whole, hey, you don't actually have the image of God on you, even though he already told you did. Eat this fruit because God's been tricking you. And they went, oh, you must be right, even though we've been doing relationship with God. So forget our relationship with God. We'll go ahead and become self-focused and we'll trust you and badness, naughtiness. It was awful. So the enemy already has authority when he comes to poke God, saying, hey, nobody actually loves you. And God goes, Job does. And the enemy goes, oh, well, do you mind if I bother him? Understand, the enemy already has legal right. He doesn't have to ask God that question. He's just doing that to poke God. So God steps in and says, sure, but you can't kill him. So he takes the peg of authority down a little bit on the enemy. So in the midst of that, the enemy then goes and throws everything he has at Job. He kills his family. He kills his livelihood. He even goes to the point of putting illness on Job's body to the point that Job, in his friend's eyes, would have been better off dead. Everybody in Job's life is telling him that he needs to turn and curse God because God is obviously the one doing these things to him. You know, there's this quote that people love to throw out there: the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. That is a conclusion coming from a man who does not know God personally. It is an ill-gotten conclusion, and just because it appears in the scriptures does not mean that the phrase is true. The enemy also said, did God really say? You know, he didn't actually mean that. That didn't make his statement true. So we have an erroneous conclusion that leads to other erroneous conclusions when taken out of context, because the end result of Job is not that suffering is to be expected, it's inescapable. None of that is even... No. The end result of Job is that after the enemy has exhausted his resources, done everything he can to get Job to turn from God and curse him, that it comes to no effect. That God, in a moment, just and restores everything Job had and more, thus nullifying any effect the enemy could possibly have on Job. Our expectation is that when Holy Spirit gets on the scene, that's what happens. It stops being about us having to earn our way into stuff. You know, it's like it is one of the scariest things that I have ever noticed in life, is we actually like teach people out of grace. You know, people come to God understanding that he's paid for their sins, that things are covered, and they go to church and they unlearn that because suddenly there's all this other behavior that has to be monitored and carefully metered to make sure that you're really a Christian. Your proof of Christianity is in two things. On a personal level, it's Holy Spirit in your life. And on the public side, Jesus said that we would be known by how we love each other. However cliched you think the passage is, 1 Corinthians 13 lays out a really clear paradigm for what love looks like. I understand wanting to protect your friends and family from bad mindsets, from ill-gotten ideas or perspectives. I get it. That's why I'm talking with you right now. But there's a part of 1 Corinthians 13, and if we could get this one part, we'd be okay. A lot of people, when they're hurt, they're unwilling to deal with the love keeps no record of wrong. But there's another piece there that's very similar and very key to that, and it's love protects. You can't simultaneously protect somebody and be besmirching them in public. You can't simultaneously protect somebody while gossiping about them with your friends. You can't simultaneously protect somebody and wish ill on them. Just the desire to protect someone like you protect your own flesh, which is the second greatest commandment, changes the entire game. So on a personal level, check that out, because you need to be known by how you love your brothers and sisters. And you need to know personally the Holy Spirit's active in your life. If Holy Spirit is active in your life, then you also have an expectation of freedom, which means the stuff that has been on you, whether it's oppression from the enemy or self-condemnation or self-loathing, or you think that you're bound to this sin, you think you're addicted and it's you can't escape. It's not true, dude. It's not true. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. You have every reason to be free from that stuff. So real quick, we're going to do a minute litmus test on how to hear God, okay? Do you think about yourself positively often? Okay, most of you answered no. Second question, do you understand that the enemy wants you to think badly about yourself? I hope most of you answered yes. If not, send me a message. We can talk about it. God, when you ask him this next question, will blow your flipping mind. So have some tissues nearby, have a notebook so you can write stuff down so that you can write what he's about to tell you. I want you to ask Holy Spirit how he sees you. It's going to change your life. If you're dealing with addiction, ask Holy Spirit whether or not you're addicted. Addiction is not just I'm doing something that I don't want to do because my motivation for not doing it is not as great as my desire for it. Addiction is chasing after something at the expense of everything else. Most of you who think you're addicted to pornography are not actually addicted to pornography. Many of you who think that you can't stop whatever physical sin is going on, you can. Those of you who are actually addicted, you can speak this out. I'm agreeing with you right now in this moment. We break the spirit of addiction in Jesus' name over your life, over your family, over your household. And we release you from it in Jesus' name. Holy Spirit, we ask that you come in and you fill that place that's now void because the enemy's no longer there. I know we just got super heavy, and that was really, I don't know, I hope it wasn't too complex, but I know there was a lot there. I will simply leave it at this. Your life is valuable enough that an infinite God went, I will bankrupt my place to send you the best that I have, to die on your behalf, for the off chance that maybe one day you might want to hang out. He just loves you. He just wants to chill with you. He wants to do life with you. And because you're made for him, the only thing you're being asked to give up is what you were never made to be in the first place. Because you weren't made for you. You're made for relationship. You are infinitely valuable. You are worthy of love and affection. You will succeed. You will come out of what you're dealing with, and the enemy won't beat you. I bless you in Jesus' name. We're going to be doing some worship stuff later in the day. Just be blessed. See you tomorrow.